Have you ever wondered what living in a world not built for how your brain works is like? For millions of people, this is daily life. Today, we're talking about neurodivergence, with a focus on two of the most well-known conditions, ADHD and ASD. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition that affects attention, impulse control, and executive functioning. People with ADHD may find it hard to sit still, stay focused, or finish tasks, but they're also often energetic, creative, and quick thinking. ASD, or Autism Spectrum Disorder, affects communication, social interaction, emotional regulation, and sensory processing. Autistic people may prefer routines, find certain environments overwhelming, or communicate differently, but they also bring deep focus, unique insights, and strong passions. But here's the problem we don't talk about enough. While society is starting to talk more about these conditions, it often focuses on what's wrong with neurodivergent people instead of what's different. This can lead to stigma, misunderstanding, and pressure to mask or hide their true selves just to fit in. In this video, we will talk about supporting neurodivergent individuals, the coping strategies, the message we want to share, and understanding neurodivergent individuals.
If you have ADHD, use reminders like checklists or alarms to keep you on track. Breaking big tasks into smaller steps with time limits can make things less overwhelming. Also, there's something called body doubling. Working alongside someone else, even silently, can help you stay focused. You can even turn tasks into a game by rewarding yourself when things get done. And sensory tools like widget toys or music can give your brain the stimulation it needs to keep going. For autistic people, routines are often super helpful. Visual schedules can make the day feel more predictable and less stressful. Things like noise-canceling headphones, soft clothes, or sensory pouches can really help manage sensory overload. Getting ready for changes by using countdowns, practicing social scripts, or having a calming space to retreat to can also make a big difference when emotions run high. At school, if you have ADHD, using digital planners, study methods like Pomodoro technique, and accommodations like extra time or hearing instructions out loud can help a lot. For autistic students, clear, specific instructions, visual aids, group work that's predictable, and sensory-friendly classrooms make learning easier. In the workplace, people with ADHD might find it useful to prioritize tasks with to-do lists, cut down on distractions, and use productivity tools. They might also ask for flexible workflows. Autistic employees often prefer written communication, structured routines, sensory controlled environments, and clear boundaries around socializing. At the end of the day, there is no one-size-fits-all fix. What really matters is understanding each person's unique needs and building a system that supports their way of thinking, not trying to force them into a mold. If you're neurodivergent, we want you to hear this loud and clear. You're not broken. You're just wired differently. And that's completely valid. Learning to understand and embrace your neurodivergent is such a powerful step towards accepting yourself and growing stronger. Getting to know how your brain works can help you find the support and tools that make everyday life, school, or work easier. There are difficult times, but remember, you're not alone. Connecting with others who get what you're going through can bring comfort, advice, and a real sense of community. Try out different ways to cope what feels right to you. Maybe breaking things into smaller steps helps, or linking tasks to things you love. Sensory tools like widget toys or calming scents can really make a difference when things get overwhelming. If you're on medication, don't be afraid to speak up and work with your doctor if something doesn't feel quite right. And if you want, share your neurodivergence with people you trust. It helps them understand you better and support you in ways that actually work, whether that's being patient, giving clear instructions, or just giving you space when you need it. Above all, take care of yourself. You don't need to fit society's mold, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with how your brain works. You don't need to try harder, to push yourself to the very extreme. You are who you are. It's okay to rest. Burnout isn't a weakness. It's a signal that support and balance are needed. What needs to change is how the world understands neurodivergence. With more empathy and awareness, we can create a world that accepts and includes everyone just as the way they are.
Let's talk about how society treats neurodivergent people. Even though awareness is growing, there's still a lot of misunderstanding and stigma out there. People often assume things that just aren't true, like thinking all disruptive behavior means someone is autistic, or that folks with ADHD are lazy or can't handle responsibility. But the truth is, neurodivergent people just experience and process the world differently, not worse. One big misconception is that autistic people don't have empathy. That's totally wrong. They often feel emotions really deeply, but might just express them differently. And ADHD is not a limitation or a lack of potential. It's simply a different way the brain works and achieves things. Neurodivergence isn't something that comes and goes. It's a lifelong part of who someone is from birth. Sure, mental health issues like depression can happen too, but they're separate and don't define a person's neurodivergence. When we reduce someone to just their diagnosis, we erase their unique talents, personality, and everything that makes them who they are. A lot of stigma comes from older generations where neurodivergence was seen as something to be ashamed of or as a weakness. Emotional challenges like rejection sensitive dysphoria often go unnoticed, especially in people with ASD or ADHD. What we really need is understanding, not judgment. Neurodivergent people deserve to be seen as a whole complex individuals, not problems to be fixed. The rise in neurodivergent diagnosis has brought needed awareness, but has also led to an increase in self-diagnosis. While some self-diagnose due to limited access to professionals, others may rely on generalized traits seen online without fully understanding the condition. This can spread misinformation and lead to skepticism towards those with a legitimate diagnosis. Some neurotypical individuals even romanticize neurodivergence, focusing on quirky traits and ignoring the lifelong challenges involved. This trivializes real struggles related to education, work, and mental health. Neurodivergence is not a trend or aesthetic, it's a valid, complex experience. Social media often shapes how neurodivergence is portrayed. Sometimes people are pressured to perform their symptoms to be taken seriously. This performative pressure is draining and can blur lines between genuine and superficial understanding. Public knowledge is often influenced by oversimplified content online. While some share accurate information, others spread myths, often shutting down others' input. People may resist the learning more, driven by fear of being the odd one out, or due to attachment to their views, which makes it easier to believe what's familiar rather than considering alternative perspectives. True understanding requires empathy, critical thinking, and professional insight, not just surface level awareness.
My co-writer and I are students from Singapore, and I believe that in Singapore, the lack of advocacy and understanding around neurodivergence leads many to see it as a disorder rather than a natural variation in how the brain works. This is especially harmful in an academically competitive society that prioritizes high performance and conformity. Singapore's education system is globally praised for its rigor, discipline, and strong focus on STEM subjects. However, it is also exam-driven, high stakes, and heavily rooted in meritocracy, the belief that success only comes from hard work and talent. While this sounds fair in theory, in practice, it disadvantages those who don't fit the mold, particularly neurodivergent students. Neurodivergent learners, especially undiagnosed groups, often struggle to meet the system's rigid expectations, which emphasize memorization, speed, and standardized testing. As a result, they may be unfairly labeled as lazy or unintelligent by teachers, peers, and even themselves, when in reality, the system fails to see how they learn best. The issue isn't the lack of ability, it's the lack of support and flexibility in the system. Though meritocracy aims to level the playing field, it often overlooks the reality that not everyone starts at the same point or learns in the same way. For neurodivergent individuals, this creates a deeply stressful, exhausting experience where their strengths are overshadowed by a system that only values certain kinds of intelligence.
Supporting neurodivergent people starts with empathy and unlearning assumptions. Neurodivergence affects how someone communicates, feels, processes sensory input, and interacts socially. These are not flaws but valid expressions of human diversity. Each neurodivergent person is unique. Instead of assuming their capabilities, take time to understand their strengths and challenges. Some may be highly creative or detail-oriented. Others may need support with social situations or sensory sensitivities. Respect how they learn, work, and function in their own way. Use clear and direct communication. Avoid vague language and offer alternatives like written instructions or visual aids. Teachers and employees should clearly explain and check for understanding. Simple clarity can make a big difference. Build inclusive, flexible spaces. This could mean offering quiet rooms, alternative roles in school events, sensory accommodations, or allowing social boundaries to be respected. Support looks different for everyone, and creating safe, accepting environments is key. Keep listening and learning. The best way to understand is to listen to neurodivergent voices. Their experiences are essential to knowing what real support looks like. Always approach with respect and kindness. Ultimately, supporting neurodivergent individuals is not about fixing them, it's about accepting them. Parents, friends, and educators and employers all play a role in making the world more inclusive. Neurodivergence isn't a flaw, it's just another way of being human.
In conclusion, autism spectrum disorder, ASD, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, are neurodevelopmental conditions that affect how the brain functions, especially in areas like communication, emotional regulation, sensory processing, and executive functioning. These are not mental illnesses, but natural variations in how the brain works. Despite growing awareness, society still focuses on deficits rather than differences, causing many neurodivergent individuals to mask their true selves to fit in. Neurodivergence should be seen as a personal trait, not a problem. Support means treating individuals with respect, neither pitying nor patronizing them, but simply including and valuing them. Real change starts with education, empathy, and listening to neurodivergent voices. By shifting the focus from limitations to strengths and creating inclusive environments in schools, workplaces, and communities, we empower neurodivergent individuals to thrive as they are. It is not pity that helps people grow. It is power, respect, and space to be themselves. Because when everyone is given the space to flourish, society as a whole benefits.
If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we have attached the link to our very own self-written report which goes deeper into the neuroscience, the behaviors, and everything that is mentioned in this video about ADHD and ASD. Feel free to leave a comment about your thoughts and voice out any suggestions you'd like to give. Your support is everything to us. Thank you for watching and have a great day.